The sun has just begun to bleed over the jagged rooflines of the city. Down on the pavement, the air is still and the silence is absolute. While the rest of the world is hitting snooze, a converted warehouse tucked away on Bamboo Lane has been humming with life for over 2 hours. This isn't your neighborhood karate studio. There are no neon signs, no brightly colored belts, and no monthly membership fees. This is the private laboratory of Bruce Lee, a sanctuary where entry is granted only by his personal invitation. You don't find this place in a directory. You find it because Bruce Lee decided your potential was worth his energy. Inside, 12 elite students usually populate the floor, each hand-picked for their unique brilliance. But today, the mat is shared by only 2 men. One is the master, and the other is a 26-year-old named David Kwan, who is moments away from a humbling realization. David wasn't a novice when he walked through these doors 2 years ago. Born into a lineage of Wing Chun practitioners in San Francisco, he was a prodigy by 16 and a West Coast legend by 20. He stood 6 feet tall, solid as a mountain, with reflexes that seemed to defy biology. He didn't come to Bruce to learn how to fight, he came because he thought he was already an equal. Bruce accepted him, but not for his steel hands or his blistering speed. He accepted him because he saw a toxic seed of arrogance that, if left to grow, would eventually rot David from the inside out. For 2 years, David was the model student, the first one in, the last one out, absorbing every nuance of the interfering lead in the economy of motion. But then he fell into the trap that catches all gifted performers. He started keeping score. He began comparing his stats to the man at the front of the room. He stopped being a student and started becoming a rival in his own mind. The tension finally snapped on this quiet Tuesday. David didn't head for the heavy bag or the wooden dummy. He stood in the center of the room, a statue of pure defiance. When Bruce finally approached him after a slow, deliberate glass of water, David didn't wait. He dropped the formalities. "I've been tracking my progress," he said, his voice steady but thick with a new kind of weight. "I'm faster than you now, Sifu. In pure reaction time, in hand speed, I've moved past you." The room went cold. Outside, a dog barked and a truck rattled by, but inside, time seemed to liquefy. Bruce didn't get angry. He didn't even look surprised. Instead, he did the one thing David hadn't prepared for. He smiled. It was a genuine, warm expression of a man who had finally seen a fruit ripen. "Put on your gloves," Bruce said softly. "Let's see what we're working with." By the time the other students, Jimmy Kimura, Raymond Cho, and Eddie Santos, trickled in, the atmosphere in the warehouse was electric. They didn't start their own drills. They simply backed up against the wall and watched. David was technical perfection. His guard was flawless, his breathing was rhythmic, and his weight was perfectly centered. To any observer, he looked like the ultimate fighter. But to Bruce, perfection was a ceiling. It meant David had filled his cup to the brim and decided there was nothing left to pour in. The fight wasn't a brawl. It was a surgical demonstration. Every time David launched a strike, combinations that would have leveled any other martial artist, he hit nothing but air. Bruce wasn't just faster, he was earlier. He wasn't reacting to David's fists, he was reading the tiny flicker in his shoulder, the slight shift in his gaze, the microscopic change in his breath. Bruce was living in the half-second before the punch existed. Within minutes, Bruce had marked David 11 times. Gentle, controlled taps to the throat, the ribs, and the temple, while David hadn't landed a single touch. When they finally sat down, David looked like a man who had just seen a ghost. He wasn't physically tired, but he was spiritually drained. "How?" he asked. Bruce picked up a small piece of gravel from the windowsill and tossed it into the air. "You saw that coming because you understand gravity. You weren't guessing, you were observing a principle. You've been measuring speed as a physical metric, muscle and nerve. That's the shallow end of the pool. What you felt today was the void. I don't wait for you to move. I know where you're going before you've even decided to go there." Bruce looked at the group and dropped the hammer. Jeet Kune Do isn't a collection of fancy moves. It's not boxing mixed with wrestling. Those are just ingredients. The real goal is a human being who has stripped away all the habits and patterns that make them predictable. You've built a beautiful house, David, but you built it on the land of your own ego. And as long as you're trying to arrive at a destination, you'll never be truly present in the moment. As the session ended, Jimmy Kimura sat next to a stunned David. I feel like I came in here with a full cup and someone just dumped it out on the floor, David admitted. Jimmy smiled. That's the best thing that could have happened to you. A full cup can't hold anything new, it just spills over. But an empty cup, that's where the growth begins. David looked at the pebble Bruce had dropped, left it on the floor, and stood up. He wasn't a master anymore. He was something much more powerful. A student once again.